there. I thought I'd just introduce us all. So my name is Rachel. I currently work in the events part of Dechomai. So I'll pass you over.
Hello everyone, my name is Dechomai and I am the social media and marketing assistant here at Dechomai.
Hi, my name's Hannah. I am the business development manager in Chyoprya Glasgow.
So on you go, Hannah. Obviously we've got today, we'll just have like a wee chat and see how the industry is going and seeing how you're getting on, and we just thought we'd get to know you a wee bit and put you out there and see what's happening. So do you want to chat to us a wee bit about what your role is and what it is that you do at Chyoprya?
Yeah, for sure. So it's my job basically just to work alongside my business manager, just to build on the kind of corporate side of the business. Chyoprya is quite an impressive building, to be fair. It used to be the old Royal Academy of Music and Drama. My dad actually went to school there, so when I first started he was like, oh, did my trumpet exams there. It was really quite cool. And it has 6 floors, 4 of which we use for customers. So when we're like busy for trading, we can actually hold up to like 900 people at a time. I haven't seen that yet because I've just worked there for the pandemic, but I'm really excited. So my job is basically to be the face of like the corporate side of the business for Glasgow, just to do some networking throughout the city, building on local partnerships, hosting like local events. I also manage the social media channels, but right now my full focus is kind of driving takeaway marketing and sales.
Really interesting. Are you enjoying it so far? And
yeah, for sure.
It's very different starting a job in a pandemic.
Yeah, it's been very strange. So I got the job in February, worked for 3 weeks, and then I was off. So it's been really, really strange. Like, I built initial relationships with people and they've since changed jobs and things. So the job itself has changed in the last 12 months. So I am actually really excited to get back into it and just to get fully stuck in, because I haven't had the opportunity to do that yet.
You know, I can imagine that sounds quite a challenge that you've had going. How did you get to where you are? What is your background? Just tell us a bit about how you've got there, because it's a really impressive job and it's a really impressive sort of restaurant. It's so well known. As you said, it's a beautiful building inside and out. So how did you get there?
So I've worked in hospitality all my life. Started working as a housekeeper when I was 16 in my local hotel. Loved that job, like gave me all the value that I needed as I was kind of becoming an adult. But yeah, did that for 3 years, part-time. I then moved in the same hotel into like the banqueting and restaurant side of things, which I just loved. Like, that's actually where my love for hospitality started, because I got to actually do the customer facing side of things, like have that relationship with the customers, work at their weddings and events, which I just loved on a larger scale. In terms of education, I actually studied teaching, so it's not related at all. On reflection, I actually feel like when I was in school, hospitality wasn't really well represented. It wasn't kind of put across as a potential career choice for me, so I followed my mum. She did teaching, so it just seemed like an easy step. But yeah, I did achieve my degree, but going into year 2, I loved my part-time jobs more than I loved my placements, so I knew that I was always going to end up in the hospitality side of things. After working in the hotel, I moved to more kind of city centre venues. I worked in the Thistle, 200 St Vincent Street, and then moved into House for an Art Lover, where I met you, Rachel. And yeah, in House for an Art Lover, I worked in their cafe and in their banqueting team, and then after 3 years I started planning their weddings, which I loved. I loved that job. Did it for 3 years. Had so much fun doing it, because there's so much scope just to be creative and to build relationships with the couples. And yeah, after that moved to Chyoprya and yeah, into the more corporate side of things. So I'm excited for the change.
It sounds so natural, the fact that that's not where you envisioned yourself leaving school, you were going to go and be a teacher, and now all of a sudden look where you are now. But it still comes so naturally, and I think I'm so interested in talking to different people about what their background is, because my background is going to uni and doing events, whereas 99% of people, that's not what they've done. They've fallen into it, and I think that's a great thing. And I completely agree, and that kind of hit home a wee bit when you said that wasn't a profession while I was at school. You never pushed it. You were a waitress or you worked in hospitality while you were studying. It wasn't somewhere that you could go. Whereas it really is, and it's opening up. And I was really interested you said that, and I thought that was good. And going on from there, so we've had your background, but where do you see yourself going?
I have a tricky one, just with everything that's going on just now, but I've always been a really outgoing person, and I think for the past 4 years it's been my job to think forward and to plan. So my next 3 years will be spent in Chyoprya. I have so much scope to do amazing things there just because of the location and the building. They've got a lot of exciting plans as well to develop that further. Before the pandemic, we were actually due a refurb, so naturally that will be happening soon, which is really exciting. We're looking to start doing like live music nights in our bar, potentially to have like a full-time all seasons terrace as well. So there's loads of really exciting things. Even for the takeaway side of things, we're now we've started to be kind of fully self-sustaining with our takeaway packaging, so we're serving our rice in like banana leaves and stuff. So we're kind of moving with the times. So for the next 3 years I just really want to be a part of that and just to get in about it.
It sounds really interesting, and I think very forward thinking, because we need to be sustainable to move forward as an industry or as a planet. And I think with COP coming up, and it's really important that we address it. So it's a great time when things are unfortunately a little bit quieter. It's a great time to be able to do that.
Absolutely.
Do you plan on staying in hospitality, or are you wanting to?
I really do. I love it. Yeah, I think I want to stay in Glasgow as well. I think Chyoprya has taught me that, going from like a small town growing up and then moving into like the south side of the city centre has just taught me exactly how quirky Glasgow can be and how amazing the people are. And so like, not to sound like too cliche, but the people really do like make our city. And being part of like the hospitality sector, when we're surrounded by like tourism at its best and citywide events and our music festivals, because we've really been put on the map with good music as well. I think there's just no better industry. Like, everyone feeds off each other, even like our taxi drivers and our concierge for the hotels. Like, it's just so encouraging to be part of. So yeah, for sure, I'm staying where I am.
I love your enthusiasm. I feel the same, that Glasgow is such a hub and everything about Glasgow is amazing, and people don't realise, because they're so involved in it, they don't look at the bigger picture and think this is Glasgow, this is how amazing we are. And when you look at other places, they don't have what we have, of the feeling and the community feel within the industry. And that's what was Shlomo and I, we were talking about that in events and the hospitality, everything like that, we all know each other. You know, we've all sort of linked.
It's a close circle for sure.
It really is. It really, really is. It's lovely.
I think it's so easy, like in normal times when we're trading as well, it's easy just to celebrate like the small wins, like you've made a good profit in a week because of sales. But it's nice to then think about, like, where did they come from? Was it because of the success of Transmit and because we've brought so many people into Glasgow that have never visited before? And it's just amazing to think about the bigger picture of things.
I love that, and I love how DCMB have done so much, and just the council have done so much to push Glasgow as a whole and as a community. And we have so much to offer on our doorstep. We are so lucky that if we want to go to a festival, we go to Glasgow Green. If we want to go to nice restaurants, we go to the city centre or the West End or anywhere. Whereas other places, you need to travel for hours or fly somewhere to go and see these things. And we're so lucky that we've got everything on our doorstep. Absolutely. I love to see your enthusiasm for Glasgow. Definitely, I feel the same. So I'll pass it to you if you want to carry on.
Yeah, no, I think it's, as Rachel just mentioned, your enthusiasm for hospitality is so contagious. I'm like, I want to join. Like, like, where do I join in? I guess so. Let's say for anyone that doesn't have an idea of what events looks like day to day, like, could you give us a day to day? Like you mentioned before that we are in a pandemic, so it's probably looked a lot different than you expected it to look like.
Yeah. So events prior to this, we've all been a part of it. Obviously, we've all attended like a private dining event in Glasgow and all that kind of thing. But to actually plan it and to be a part of it, it's just fantastic. Like, to be that person, the first point of call for someone to come to, and you're just building that relationship, you're listening to what they want. And I have the type of brain that loves a challenge. So when someone comes to me with, well, I want this, but maybe we can't do it, you're just thinking of other alternatives to give them. And on the day as well, it's just so much fun to then see your hard work obviously being put into the event and everyone's enjoying it. But going forward, I don't know what they're going to look like. It's quite a tough call. Like, I've been trying to sit and plan going forward for when we can be open in terms of like networking events and stuff. And yes, for a while they'll be socially distanced. And I know that a lot of companies will take their time to actually come out and go back to their offices again and to come out and actually socialise for face-to-face meetings. But it's all stuff that I'm looking forward to. Like, the virtual stuff has been a lot of fun, and it has given me the opportunity to meet people further afield. Like, they haven't maybe been based in Glasgow, but I now know a lot about their businesses. But the face-to-face stuff, I'm really looking forward to having back. I think we all are. Like, my mum celebrated a big birthday last year and she's like, I'm still doing it. Like, the end of this year, I'm doing it.
No, I do think, we are a bit zoomed out if you think about it. And people are probably quite hesitant, but I think, hopefully for anyone that's listening in, you're seeing, I guess, this enthusiasm and the fact that there are many people in events actually putting the time in to plan and to carefully consider, how you guys can come back in. I think that's quite exciting. Could you tell us a bit more about like your day-to-day for anyone that's maybe thinking, I want to do that. Like, what does that look like?
Of course. So career-wise, I would honestly encourage anyone to do it. I actually appreciate the fact that I did the kind of private side of the weddings first before I moved into corporate, because the private side of things, I didn't realise how different they were going to be. Like, the private side with the weddings were very fluffy and very kind of informal in a way, because really you're just building relationships. And it's the same with corporate, but you have to just approach it in a different way. So for anyone that does want to come into like the business development side of things, 3 things that you kind of guaranteed you will get is scope to be creative, which I just love. Like, you in Chyoprya, I'm so lucky I've been given free rein to say, you've got this building, do what you want with it, try different ideas, think outside the box. We've got in November, we've got the climate change conference coming to Glasgow. So in terms of like tourism, that will bring a lot for us. So right now, that's what I'm doing. I'm sitting thinking about ideas and how I can get involved in that. Like, can I arrange an electric car to pick people up from the hydro and bring them to Chyoprya? Like, what can I do that's different? And yeah, like the social media side of things is obviously forever growing. Like, we're all looking at stories and encouraged by dishes. So for that, you can be as creative as you want to be. If you've got a good kitchen behind you, you've got an easy sell.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the staff as well are just, working with the team. For the corporate side of things, that's probably more important. Like, you need a good team behind you to then get that repeat business. So yeah.
It's good to have an all-round background. My background as well was private and corporate, and it really gives you an all-round feeling, and it gives you that confidence to push forward. Whereas if you're a wee bit one side heavy, you don't see the bigger picture, just like you're saying. So it's really helpful. Good.
No, that's really insightful, and no doubt it's going to be helpful maybe to someone that is considering or looking at going into a similar role as yours. Yeah, I was just wondering if we could pick your brain in terms of how you feel like events and hospitality in particular, how this industry has been treated during this pandemic. How have you found that? What do you think maybe even could have been done? Just to help.
Yeah, I think we've been treated quite poorly. Like, we for a long time have needed extra support, and it's not just hospitality, it is the arts, it is tourism, it all collectively had a really bad knock-on effect, and it's quite heartbreaking. Like, at the city centre, we've seen a lot of big names shut down because they've not been able to continue on their leases. It's really heartbreaking. But I mean, when we reopened in August, it did become quite clear that a lot of factors were hitting us, particularly for me being based in the city centre. No one was in their offices, we didn't have tourists, we didn't have students, so in terms of footfall, that was all taken away, other than shoppers, and with people being kind of discouraged to use public transport, and you've got to pay for parking. It's really there's no win really. But one kind of encouraging thing that we did take from it in August, a team of us, of local businesses, many of the restaurants and hotels in the city centre, we actually all kind of got together in Zoom calls, and we actually rallied together towards the Scottish Government to pitch changes, because we could see that, we needed it. We weren't allowed to play music at that stage. We wanted free parking, because at least people could then journey in safely and get home. Because it wasn't necessarily the restaurants that were the issue. You encourage hand sanitising when you come in, all your menus are fresh, your distance for your tables, so that was a safe environment to be in. It's just the journey itself. But unfortunately, when we started to rally towards it, the tier system then got introduced, and it was kind of declining rather than getting better. But I think one encouraging thing that I can definitely take forward is that I now have built so many close relationships with people that previously would have been my competitors. We have had so many open and honest conversations about our struggles and what we're going through, and it's managed to actually bring us all together as a unit in the city centre rather than all being separate. And I think as we go forward in terms of customers and sales, that good relationship will still be there. So that is a good thing, although we've struggled. But
I think that is a really good thing, and it's quite a Glasgow thing. At the end of the day, we're all there for one another. We're not, yes, you are a competitor to an extent, but we help each other out. We always do, and I've seen that a lot when I've been working in events and industry and things, and I think it's just a nice thing to do. And we were speaking about that as well the other day, weren't we? We just want to all be there for one another, and we're all going through it, so we need to be honest, and that's what these conversations that we're trying to put out there are about. It's just about an open conversation. It's not about to pitch something. It's just to say, this is what's happening, this is how we're feeling. You might be feeling something completely different to me, but that's absolutely okay. It's just to chat about it and see where we're all at. So definitely.
It's hard sometimes to swallow your pride and be like, we did only have 30 customers in today. It wasn't a good Saturday, but this is where we are. And it's nice to hear that actually people are in the same boat, because you never do know without that open conversation. You could just think it's you, and it's not. So,
I think those are both really fair points. Community has been a big aspect of us going forward, regardless of whatever industry you find yourself in, we've all needed community, and I think it's really exciting to see where we'll take this going forward as well, because I have no doubt the way we will network and the way we will collaborate as well is going to look very different, and probably more rich fields in how we all benefit from that. So that's also exciting.
Absolutely. I also think in terms of mental health, having been in and out of work, having that community feel from the other hospitality leaders in Glasgow they've really helped me to understand that I'm not the only one that's maybe feeling down this day. Or so even just having that open conversation, because there's people that I work with that actually haven't worked for 12 months, and it's quite scary to think about, like, because we're all going through the same thing, but we've all kind of been leaning on each other, so it has been lovely to see it.
I think it is important, because events, hospitality, we haven't necessarily been overly looked after, so we are kind of leaning on each other. And like you said, I've got many friends that haven't worked for over a year. I didn't work for a year, so it's hard, and it's that mental health of, I've gone from not working for a year to working full time for it straight away, and it's, my mind is completely different, and it's different than what I thought it would be as well. So it's just something else that you're going to have to deal with. And I think that even though that, yes, that's how we feel about it, I think the big change is going to be when things do open up. How are we going to adapt to that change? It's going to be so different to what we're used to, and we're having to learn on the job while we're trying to save, and it's difficult. I agree with that. Yeah. It's just so nice to see that as a Glasgow community and like your wee hub has all come together. And is that about how the podcast has come about? I would like to talk about that. And
yeah, so back in August, when I basically just put a post out on LinkedIn to say, we're not doing well. Is there anyone else that wants to talk to me about it? What can we do that might drive football, and how can we actually take our negatives and just run with it? Like, how can we make this better? So there was 53 people in the end up on the call that I organised, which was so surprising. And from that, I was then asked to get involved in the Pure Buzzing podcast, which is a hospitality podcast, just designed to talk to individuals throughout the industry and spread the good news stories, because there wasn't for a long time. It was just closures and we weren't achieving this, and so it was just to spread the good things, because there was a lot of really good stories in the press that weren't covered, but we were doing really well. So it's been a lot of fun actually. We've got funding there for further episodes as well, and it's been lovely. On Friday we're actually recording the next one, and we're interviewing the CEO of DF Concerts, which will be a nice insight into how 2021 is going to look like for music in Glasgow and what we're going to do going forward. And we're filming it in the Radisson Red as well, and they've got their concert virtually next week, which is in association with the mental health charity for Glasgow for hospitality as well. So it's been fantastic actually, just to keep my mind going.
Definitely, and it's really been out there. I've seen it posted quite a lot of links on LinkedIn, and people are really pushing it and really behind it, and everybody knows of it, so it's become a brilliant thing, and it's amazing. You must feel so proud to be sort of involved in that and sort of be the lead to push on it.
It's just been, I think the biggest accomplishment I've felt is when I've heard of it from like students and from the universities and things, because hospitality students, they're obviously working remotely just now. They're doing all their virtual lectures and things, and to hear that they're listening to it and are still finding that motivation for the industry that has been struggling for the last 12 months, it's really nice to be a part of that and actually to keep motivating them to keep going, because the industry, give us a couple of months, we'll be thriving. Everyone will want to go out and we'll be making the most of those experiences again, and no one will take for granted what we had before. So I just want a pint, like.
You guys were talking about this for a show, about how much we're desperate just to go to the pub. And interesting you said that, because we've actually got a student lined up, don't we? Yes. And we're going to talk about him about his experience, and how I had a wee chat to him yesterday on the phone and see how he's feeling, and how's that. He's going to graduate in May, but 99% of the industry have lost their jobs, and it's that fear of coming out of uni, being new. That's scary enough without there being, one, no jobs, and two, everybody's looking for these jobs. So we're going to chat to him and see about that. So it's interesting that how you and him are crossing over already, and about that excitement. So
yeah.
But yeah, so we're obviously, Dechomai is a platform for women. We are here to empower them, and I guess my next question is leading up to how you found it as a woman in this industry. What have the challenges been? What have the highlights been, I guess, that you think maybe are worth even noting on for, our platform?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, honestly, I've always really had positive experiences of the industry. I'm incredibly lucky, having worked for both male and female management teams. There's never been like any bias or anything put towards me because I'm a woman. I mean, you hear about all these stereotypes, don't you, for hospitality, like women should work on the bar to get tips. Like there's a lot of really well-known things, but yeah, in terms of like when I've wanted to move departments to kind of try my hand at something new, it's always been encouraged. I've also been given a lot of great opportunities just because of my work ethic and who I am. It doesn't matter that I've maybe not been the most qualified to get the job and stuff like that. It's just, yeah, I think as an industry we are really quite inclusive. And I think I also don't necessarily shy away from speaking up about behaviour that I don't think is appropriate. Never because I'm a woman, actually because I'm maybe a young woman in the industry. I've had a couple of comments made because of my age. Like an example would be like, how much knowledge can you have to plan my event in the right way because you're so young? Or are you married? Like, how can you plan my day if you're not married? And like
that asked quite often. It's a horrible thing. Yeah.
But I think it can be similar for different industries. Like when I used to work with children, people would comment because I didn't have children, how well can I look after their kids? So it can be transferred. But yeah, honestly, as a woman, I've always been given the opportunities that I have strived towards, and I've always been encouraged to think outside the box. None of my ideas have ever been like put down because of my gender. So yeah, I have always had really positive experiences.
And I guess just based on what you said there, like what advice would you give to someone maybe dealing with, that off comment, or, you're not experienced enough to be giving me this advice? How would you say they should tackle that kind of feedback?
What I would say is that there's a lot of strong, driven females in the industry. So just speak, just talk. Like we're the worst. And going back to mental health, it can be so easy in hospitality to slip into a really negative mindset because you do work long shifts. You quite often, your sleeping pattern can be off. And for males as well, you can slip into the fact of just not liking your job and you don't speak to anyone about it. So if there is any issues at all, just approach someone that you feel comfortable with, whether that is male or female. And it can be a co-worker or management. But the fact is, comments will be made from guests as well, because it is customer facing. You will get comments thrown at you from a drunk man when you're serving behind the bar. Like it's natural. But if you don't feel comfortable with it, because everyone has different comfortabilities as well, just speak up.
No, that's really good advice.
Back to the events and hospitality and Glasgow being a community, that it's okay for us to talk to one another, and the fact that you don't feel you've been discriminated against as being a woman is amazing, because you've been pushed forward, and I think that's quite a Glasgow thing, that we are really trying to be so inclusive as we can. Yeah.
No, that's really, really cool. And I guess moving on then to our next question is, what would your opinion be on diversity of women in the industry?
To be honest, from my personal experiences so far, we can be a lot more diverse in the hospitality industry. I mean, I've had a lot of fantastic role models that I look up to, that I have met throughout my corporate journey, or that have been like my managers in the past. But in terms of representation for like all cultures and ethnicities. I don't feel like there is a lot, even though I would say that Glasgow as a city is very multicultural. And I don't know if that is going back to maybe just the fact that hospitality isn't a kind of sought after career for a lot of young women. But it's something that we can change. We do hospitality really well, and it's something that you can really put your stamp on. You can be a really quirky, different individual and come and work in our industry and be accepted for who you are. I mean, Chyoprya Glasgow, we actually have 17 different nationalities that work there, which is amazing. Like, I've learned so much from my time there. And luckily, we actually do have as many females as males in management positions. But I know that in terms of restaurant working, it can be very male dominated. So yeah, I think we can do it a lot better.
Yeah, no, actually, it's amazing. You've got 17 different nationalities. That's a huge number that's going there. That's great.
Yeah, it is. It's fantastic, and they're just so encouraging of just being inclusive. Like, it is. It's actually fantastic. We have our owners are. One of our owners is Thai, and so naturally we have a lot of Thai members of the team. Our kitchen team is Thai, but in terms of, we've got loads of people from all over Europe, and even from me learning about how they even approach hospitality in their hometown, like, it's like their service styles are all different, and it's just amazing because they all do it really well, but each customer goes home with a different journey because of who they are and their background. So it's so nice to see.
No, that is nice. It's very rounded for your training and things, and a bit of a challenge, I can imagine, as well, having to train everybody to work one way when they're so used to different management skills as well. Brilliant.
Yeah, I really appreciated the point that you made as well regarding, I think, like, industries like hospitality, even marketing, for instance, like, they're not things, if you're in high school, that are pushed to students. Like, you generally never think about it until after, when it's like, oh my goodness, if I'd known about this, I would have completely had a different career path. So I think that was a really relevant point to make, and hopefully we'll see that changing as well as years come, that people see, especially from this pandemic, with what we've seen in terms of industries that we really need. Hopefully that will be now, like, hopefully the start of like a push towards, we need to get more people within like these circles as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, well, when I was going through school, I wasn't the most academic student. I wasn't. And had I have known that there was more options there that would drive me because of the person that I was, rather than what qualifications I had. I mean, for hospitality, having the degree and the qualifications is fantastic, but really, considering it's customer facing, you really just need to have the skills of communication, and you need to be like sympathetic, and it's all these things that going through school, I had those skills, and had I have known that that was my option, I would have jumped at it. But yeah, we can definitely, going forward, for the younger generation, change that. And I think as we get older as well, and me as a parent would be different to my parents, it was kind of a given that I would maybe follow my mum into teaching, whereas now I would be more open to like other options. So
yeah, no, definitely an exciting time for the younger ones ahead of us. And to, round off with our final question, I guess, how do you plan to evolve yourself and the industry, I guess, that you're in?
Well, there's nothing really that excites me more than to be given an opportunity and just be told, okay, go and make something from it. So in terms of personal growth, I just want to always find myself in roles that I'm encouraged by and that are allowing me to think outside the box and really build relationships with those that are around me. In terms of the industry, Glasgow is such a quirky city, and I really have fallen in love with it. And so we're known for art and culture, so I guess I just want to be able to plan events that people recognise for being different and fun. And I would love one day the opportunity to actually sell Glasgow to the world rather than selling my concept to Glasgow. I think that would be incredible. But long term down the road, but yeah.
It's so lovely. Your passion is really shining through about not only hospitality, about how creative it can be, and you don't need to be. There's a lot of people, and hopefully a lot of people will be watching this who have maybe not got the grades, or I know I certainly was one that I struggled at school and to get the grades, and it's not all about that. It really isn't. It's about having the passion, and you've certainly got a lot of the passion, and it's about following what is natural to you and what you enjoy, because you're going to do it for most of your life. You need to enjoy what you do. It's not about, oh, I do this because I feel like I have to. It's got to be something that you love doing, and we can 100% say we can see you love doing it. You're so passionate about Glasgow, you're so passionate about hospitality, and it's refreshing to see, because like you said, it's a wee bit of it's not a new industry, but I feel like it's taken quite a new corner of where it's come from, because it's got that drive and the creativity and Glasgow's quirkiness that we're really trying to push forward. So it's been lovely to see, and it's been lovely to see your passion for it, definitely.